Hello there again, ladies and gentlemen. I am the almighty Zentaco, and I'm bringing you another episode of Almighty Zentaco Teaches You How to Do Stuff in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. Today's episode, we're going to be learning how to make a Flappy Bird clone. I know this is probably pretty simple, and a lot of you guys probably have this figured out. I know I say this a lot, but a lot of people also requested this, so we're going to do this. This can also be converted into sort of any sort of endless runner. So as long as you know how to do this, as long as you understand the basic principles behind like endless scrolling, you can probably turn this into a whole lot of endless scrolling games. So it is a good game type to know how to make. So that being said, let's get down to it. Gonna make a new file here. I'm gonna make this 1280 by 720, so I'm gonna modify the size 1280, and yes, I do want to modify the size of the frames, and this is gonna be 720. So this would be technically 720p. So that's this here. So why don't you go ahead and do that, and then we're gonna need to insert some objects. First thing we're gonna do is drop an active object in. Gonna rename this player. This is going to be my player object. Going to need to insert another active object. This is going to be the pipes. We're going to stick these over here. We need another active object. Pop it in here. This is going to be, we're going to call it a star. We're going to make it a star, but this is going to be the thing that is between the pipes that you collect. In Flappy Bird, you just went between them, but you can do the same thing with an invisible object that you hit, giving you a point, and then, letting you clear that pipe. We're gonna do a star though, just so there's a visual representation. Gonna stick that over there. I'm gonna import art here in a second. Then we are going to insert a counter object. This is going to let us keep track of how many pipes we have cleared. And I think that's that. All right, so we're gonna import some art. I made a bunch of art for this. You don't have to do that, or you can, whatever, up to you. So I'm gonna speed this along. Okay. So now that everything is imported, we can go ahead and get started on this code. Two things though, we don't want either of these objects to be created at start, neither the pipes nor the star. So click on the pipes, go to the play options, uncheck create at start. Do the same thing for the star. Okay, we need to add some alterable values to our player for this to work. We're not going to use any built-in movements or anything. We're just going to make our own. So let's throw in two. The first one is going to need to be xpos. Ypos, not xpos, because the player is actually not going to move at all on the x position. We are actually going to bring the pipes to the player. So we're going to need ypos and yspeed, and I think that'll just about do it. Now the reason we're using a ypos variable is because we want to have subpixel movement so that we have a nice smooth arc for our player's movement, that it looks really nice and it helps us to tweak some really fine movement. So we're going to need to set up a start a frame event for this. Let's do that now. Start a frame, and what we want to do is set the alterable value of ypos to the y position of the player. So just grab the y coordinate there. Okay, we need another event. It's going to be an always event. And this is going to be how we are creating gravity for our bird. So we are always going to go to alterable value and add 0.1 to y speed. So this will bring the y speed up. And then we are going to always, under alterable value, add to ypos the value of y speed. So grab y speed. And the last thing we need to do is to update the position of the bird. So always set the y coordinate of the bird to its value of ypos. So let's mouse over this and make sure it's all in the correct order. So we are first always adding 0.1 to y speed. Okay, then we are adding y speed to y position. So we're updating the y position value to be itself plus y speed, and then we are setting the actual y position of the bird object to the ypos value. So this should be perfect. So now we need to allow the bird to jump or fly. We're going to do that with space. So under the keyboard, upon pressing a key, that's going to be the space bar, we are just going to simply set the alterable value of y speed to a negative value. Now, keep in mind that on the y-axis, down is positive, up is negative. So that's why we're setting this to a negative value. Now we're going to say like 5. Let's run a test. Okay, so it does work. It is a little floaty, so I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to modify the what we're adding to the Y speed. Instead of 0.1, I'm going to make that 0.2. And, you know, the 5 is probably fine. Okay, so now we need to actually animate this a bit, because right now it's very static. So we're going to do that this way. We're going to find out what the Y speed is of the bird. So if it is, first we're going to compare it to, where is it at? Okay, compare the alterable value of Y speed, and we're going to find out if it's negative or positive. If Y speed is greater than 0, meaning it's positive, we know that the bird is moving down. So let's copy this event and paste it, and we're just going to alter this. We'll make this lower than 0. And then if it's lower than 0 on line 5, we know that the bird is moving up. So when the bird is moving down, we want a certain animation to play, and when the bird is moving up, we want the other animation to play. I don't remember exactly which one was which, though. So I'm just going to throw something in, and there's only 2, and we'll see whatever works. We'll figure it out. So change animation sequence to stopped here. I'm going to drag this down. Oops. Drag this down, and I'm going to make this one walking. This might be backwards. Yeah, this is backwards. Okay, so this needs to be stopped down here. And line 4 needs to be walking. Now this will be different for your program because you're going to be having your own animations. Okay, yeah, that works pretty good. Now the only problem is that he doesn't flap when he's already moving up, and we keep pressing space. Now we do have a slight animation problem. So what we're going to need to do is double click here. We're going to need to copy the animation for when his wings are up, and on the stopped, we're going to drop 2 frames of that before the frame where his wings go down. And then we're going to need to go to the code, and when we press the space bar, we want to make sure that we set the animation value to be stopped, because we want him to flap every time. What was happening is he was floating upward without flapping. This will make sure that he has a flap animation every single time. So we will change the animation sequence to walking. Okay, so now he's flapping every time. It's really not the greatest animation, but it works. I really like his top hat. That's a cool top hat. Okay, so now we need to have the pipes come on over. So we'll do that this way. We will set up a timer event. We will say every, and we can either use a calculation or do this manually. I'm going to do this manually for now. We'll say every 4 seconds we are going to have something happen, and that is going to be that we are creating a new object, the pipe. We're going to stick that pipe object over here. And then we want to give it a random position on the Y coordinate. So give it a random Y coordinate. We'll say random, and I don't know, 600. Might have to tweak this because we don't want the bottoms and tops of the pipes to come into the screen. We just want to change how tall or how far on towards the bottom it is without having it kind of mess up. So 600 might work. Another thing we want to do is set up another always event, and we need to bring the pipe towards the player. So we're always going to set the X coordinate under position of the pipe to its current X coordinate, and we're going to subtract a value like 3. Let's test this out. You might want to actually create them at start and put one at an initial position. Okay, so there we go. Now my top hat is hitting, so I am going to need to set up a hitbox for this. Might need to shrink the bird just a tad, because this could potentially be impossible. But as you see right now, we don't have any collision code or anything, or even a way to indicate that we've gone through the pipes. But this is pretty much the basics of a simple endless runner. Going to insert another active object, and this is just going to be a box that we're going to use as a hitbox. Color any color you want. Make it smaller than the player sprite by a little bit, but relatively the same size. And we're going to call this hitbox. Now we want to make sure under the properties that it is not visible at start. We do not want to see that hitbox. Okay, and go up to one of the always events, and we're going to always set the position of this hitbox relative to the bird. and just pick somewhere here in the middle because we want it to be centered around the bird, not his top hat. I don't know what kind of art you have, but if your guy has a top hat, we want to ignore that in terms of being used as an object for collision. So pick the center of where you want that hitbox to be. Let's actually go back to the hitbox and make it visible. I want to make sure that it is falling properly. Okay, it's good enough. It's relatively good. I'm actually going to, like I said, I'm going to move this onto the screen here. This as well. And we are going to make this created start. Go back to the hitbox and make it invisible. Uncheck visible at start. Okay, so the stars do not move like the pipes do. So we need to make sure that happens. So on the same always event that we have the pipes moving, we are going to move the star. So just go to position, set X coordinate, and we'll say the X coordinate of this star and -3. Make sure that the value you move on the X coordinate for the star is the same as the pipe. They need to have the same speed because the entire scene needs to be moving at the same speed. The best practice would actually probably be to set a value in an object or a global value and then always move the objects in the scene by that value. But since this is just a tutorial, we are just going to use 3. Okay. Now let's let you collect the stars. We will say if the hitbox collides, overlaps with the star, we're going to destroy the star and add 1 to our counter. Okay, so now we actually need to create the stars as well whenever we create the pipes. But to make this easier, we are going to go to our pipe object and we are going to set the hotspot, or rather the action point. And as we see, the action point is right here smack dab in the middle, which is actually where we need it because it is between the pipes perfectly. So we are going to be creating these stars at that action point. So every 4 seconds on line 6, let's double click on that. After we are creating this object, we are going to create the star. We're going to create that star relative to the pipe. Actually, let's create it after we move the pipe. Sorry. Okay, so now we just need to make sure that the star is centered on the hotspot. So let's do that now. We will say position, set X coordinate, go to the pipe, position X coordinate of action point. Sorry, not the hotspot, the action point. Make sure you are setting the X position after you have created the object. And do the same thing for the Y. Position Y coordinate and grab the position Y coordinate of action point. Okay, let's give this a test. I think this is going to work. Okay, so it does exactly what we want. I don't like the position of the bird though. I'm going to move him. Here, I can move that hitbox since it repositions. I'm going to move him forward a bit. About there. So now we just need to have collisions with the pipes and also kill the bird if he gets off the screen. We don't want to allow him to go, too far up or too far down. So that's pretty easy. Also, we want to make sure that when he hits the pipes that we start to ignore player control. And, after he dies, that would be the point at which you would have your splash screen that would, have your end of game, whatever. On Flappy Bird, I think there's a high score button, maybe like buy more apps, stuff like that. I'm not going to put that in here, but, that would be the point at which you would do that. So to do that, we're going to find out if the bird, if the hitbox is overlapping the pipes. And if that happens, we are going to go to the bird and we are going to set a flag on. Let's make that flag 0. Then we are going to set the animation to running. Okay. Let's go to the bird and make sure that the running animation is looped. Okay, so now we have to do some things because we don't want the player to be able to control when he's dying. So under line 3, which allows you to jump, we want to insert a stipulation and we want to find out if the flag 0 is off. So we're only letting you fly if flag 0 is off. Same thing with the animations here. We don't want to do the animations if flag 0 is on. So make sure that this is only when flag 0 is off. Pipes can stop moving as well, so we'll throw that here and here. So we're going to stop creating stuff, and we can still overlap. You can still maybe grab a star while dying. Who cares? That's fine. And yeah, that's fine too. We still want the gravity to take effect, so that one needs to stay there. Okay. That should work. Let's test it out. Yep. All right. In this always event here, we're going to actually control the Z hierarchy in line 2. So we are going to bring the bird to front always. That's under order. Bring to front. And we also want to bring to front the counter, because the counter was getting behind the new pipes that are being created. We want to make sure that it's always in front of the top layer. You can either make a new layer for the GUI, for the UI, or you can just do this where you bring it to front. This will make sure, because this is last, this will be the topmost thing, and this will be right beneath it, the bird. Yep. Okay, let's kill the bird if he gets off the screen. So we will find out if his position, if his Y position is, we will say lower than the frame Y coordinate of top visible edge. So that's Y top frame. And if that happens, then we're just going to do this stuff. Kill him. And then we'll copy this and find out if it's lower than Y bottom frame. I'm just going to type that in, because if you know the command, you can type it in. So that'll make sure that we kill the bird whenever he is off screen. Whoa. Oh, I didn't change that. That's greater than Y bottom frame. We were killing him when he was on screen. All right, that should work now. Let's test it out. Okay, so we can collect those. Let's get off the screen. Okay, if you get off the top of the screen there, you die. Let's try the bottom. Bottom kills you as well. I'm going to insert an active object just because I want this to look a little nicer. We're going to call this the sun. I'm going to import some art. I put the sun on the very bottom layer, and I'm going to just always rotate this. So we're just going to always go to the angle, and we're going to set the angle to the sun's current angle, and we're going to subtract 3. We're going to use 1 for maximum quality. Whoa, that's actually going to give me a seizure. Wow. Let's slow that down a little bit. Okay, so we got this cool starburst. That's still too much. We're going to make that less than 1. 0.2. There we go. Much more pleasant. Okay, well, one more thing I want to add. Whenever the bird is dead, so flag 0 is on, we're going to spin him. Bird values flag is 0 on. If that's the case, we're going to set his angle to his current angle. So go to value, no, go to angle and add 1. And 1 for maximum quality. There. We almost forgot one really important thing. Whenever the pipe gets off the screen here and the star, we need to destroy them both so that we free up memory. Otherwise, we're going to end up with too many objects, and essentially it's like a memory leak. So we're going to do that now. We're going to find out the position. We're going to compare the X position of the pipe, and we're going to find out if it is, go to frame, x coordinate of left visible edge. And we want to make sure, we want to find out if it's like to the left of that by a bit. So we're going to subtract maybe 100. So this means we're going to find out if the pipe is 100 pixels to the left of the left side of the frame. When that happens, we want to destroy it. Do the same thing for the star. Find its position, compare the x position to a value, go to the storyboard controls, under frame, x coordinate of left visible edge, minus 100, and destroy. Okay, that does it, guys. That is the end of my simple Flappy Bird clone for Clickteam Fusion 2.5. I hope you guys found this educational and useful. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below or email me. I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Or head on over to my Discord channel. There's lots of people to hang out with and chat with there, and a lot of helpful people to help you out with your projects. And I hang out there a lot too. So, alright guys, as always, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. See you in the next video.